I suppose, Minister, this is less of a speech than a plea and some questions, and the plea would be that the government delays the XL bully ban, because I believe to implement it in the timeline outlined is going to be very dangerous. So we are 12 days away from the XL bully ban beginning, and not one local authority has received the full regulations. Not one. They haven't been sent them, they haven't been emailed them, they haven't seen them. We seem to be referencing the UK and Northern Ireland bully ban a great deal in the implementation of this law when it comes to characteristics. But in lots of other ways, we're not copying them at all. We have placed a huge administrative burden and resource burden on local authorities, but we have only allocated $2 million to those local authorities for an ongoing and very serious cost. It's a vanishingly small amount of money. There is no clear outline of how the increased expenditure on administration and resources will be borne by the local authorities. So some questions. Where local authorities are going to waive the surrender fee for a dog, which is over €100 in most cases, is the department going to reimburse local authorities for that? Is the Minister aware that local authorities, in the absence of guidance from the department, have been interpreting this as relevant to all restricted breeds, which means that your average German Shepherd family dog could be deemed as unsuitable for homing and be put down with no options? There's no second chances here, and the key area that I'm genuinely worried about is that there is no meaningful involvement by the Gardaí in this process. So the dog wardens are going to be given a point of contact, but there is no guidance given to either the dog warden or the local authority or the Gardaí themselves around what is the responsibility of the Gardaí. Now, if someone came to my home and tried to take my beloved dog, who a lot of people feel is like their family member, they'd have quite the time of it. And I'm actually genuinely worried for people that our local authority workers are going to be in danger.
Thank you, Deputy.
Today I met with working animal guardians who are a dog rescue group, and they are not saying everything the Minister is doing is wrong. They agree with a lot of what the Minister is doing, but they believe the ban is completely unfair. They are very committed, they're a compassionate group, and they're very reasonable. And they have a huge amount of experience with dogs, and in particular with the XL bullies. And I think it's important to listen to groups like this, not ignore the stakeholders, which the Minister has done. The ban of XL bullies is causing panic and mayhem within dog rescue groups, and a ban is too extreme. There is a much more humane way to deal with this. There could be thousands of restricted dogs killed as a result of this ban, because XLs are not a breed. They're a type of dog which is a variety of breeds. So deciding on which dog is killed is going to be subjective and arbitrary. And that's simply unacceptable. We need to see an amnesty, and we need to see a time extension so these XL bullies can live out their natural lives and not be killed. It's important to note that the mental health of those working in the dog rescue organisations is absolutely on the floor. These organisations and those volunteering and working in rescue groups are very committed to dog welfare, and now the Minister wants them to do the very opposite of what is in their nature, to oversee the killing of dogs. So many staff are devastated by what's to come. What dog is going to be next on the ban? 20 years ago there were calls for other dogs. 10 years ago there was calls for other dogs to be banned. Why is the Minister not investing in education and the training of dog owners?
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Deputies for raising this really serious matter on the upcoming regulation on the what's called the XL bully type dogs, which I think are recognised in some countries as a breed and others maybe not. That's coming into effect on the 1st of October. Minister Humphreys announced a ban on the XL bully dogs in the interest of public safety, human safety, following a number of recent attacks. The XL bully was responsible for a number of attacks and killings in this country. If government do not take action now, the number of these dogs will grow, and the fear is, I think a well-founded fear, is that these attacks will become more frequent. It is the government's strong view that Ireland should not be out of step with neighbouring jurisdictions in Northern Ireland and the UK on this matter. And the ban will be implemented in 2 stages. From the 1st of October, new regulations will prohibit the importing, breeding, selling and rehoming of XL bully type dogs. From the February 1st, 25, it will be illegal to own an XL bully without a cert of exemption. The regulation would detail a system of certificates of exemption for XL bully type dog owners. That's the type of dog, and their owners who wish to keep their dogs. There will be a 4-month period between the 1st of October 2024 and the 31st of January 2025, when these owners will be able to apply for a certificate of exemption in order to keep their XL bully type dogs. The application process for a certificate of exemption will be managed by local authorities. However, as previously announced in July, all XL bully type dog owners will be required to license, microchip and neuter the dogs. Where a person does not hold a valid certificate of exemption after the 1st of February or have proof of an application for a certificate of exemption, the dog will be seized and thereafter may be euthanised by a veterinary officer on behalf of the local authority. The regulation will be enforced within the framework of the primary legislation, in this case the Control of Dogs Act. In this context, local authorities through the Dog Warden Service will be responsible for enforcement. Local authorities are also responsible for the recruitment of dog wardens, who are the authorised officers in the context of the Control of Dogs Act. Minister Humphreys recently announced, together with government colleagues, funding of €2 million for local authorities to support the resourcing of dog warden services from 2025. The funding recognises the increased demands in the area of dog control and the need to ensure resources on the ground to enforce the pending ban on the XL bully dog.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy. 1 minute.
And none of us have seen those regulations, and that's why there's an urgency around a delay. Some more questions. You mentioned there around things like exemption certificates. So we don't know yet why, unlike the UK, there is no third-party public liability insurance required for exemptions. We don't know what are the conditions of exemptions. We don't know if people in social housing who have signed contracts that prohibit them from owning dogs, it seems that they will be allowed to apply for exemptions. We don't see any indication that some dogs that have actually a history of violence and attacks would be prohibited from getting an exemption. And for the first time in the history of this state, most local authorities who will be dealing with this alone effectively won't have veterinary services from January 2025, because we're in the process of moving all of our veterinary services from local authorities to the Department of Agriculture, and nobody in any of the PQs that I ask can tell me what is going to happen next. So when you have dogs, and I mean at a later date we can talk about horses, veterinary services, nobody can tell me what will happen in terms of putting dogs down. Again, I will say that local authority staff are in real danger here.
Thank you, Deputy.
Minister, bans do not work. This ban is populist. It's with a view to the election coming up. Why is the Minister not making sure that the existing laws are implemented and enforced? 5 years in government and there has been no dent in illegal puppy farms. And I find it ironic that Ireland will have a wolfhound on our passports, and given the state's track record in terms of animal welfare and this ban of XL bullies, we don't deserve to have a wolfhound on the Irish passport. If the Minister has an issue with the owners, then deal with the owners. Don't kill the dogs. And I think we have to give an extension to these dogs. Do not introduce this extreme ban. Dogs should not pay the price for irresponsible owners. And we've seen in other countries that bans do not work. Do the right thing, Minister. Give the XL bully an extension and an amnesty.
Thank you, Deputy. Minister.
Thanks very much. The Government recognises that some people may not agree with the decision, and I note as well the deputies are coming from different perspectives, and I think both of you raise reasonable issues. I've no doubt about that. But I think in terms of Deputy Andrews, I think the reality is that these dogs have only been bred in the last number of decades. They're not as ancient as the Irish wolfhound. It's a completely different scenario. So I'm not sure we should. Well, I'm not sure we should be comparing an XL bully to the ancient Irish wolfhound, which is a breed of dog in this country for centuries.
Deputy.
There are public safety issues here that need to be, and we need to be aligned with our nearest neighbours as well. And we have little choice but to address this with regulation. And to the point that Deputy Hourigan raised, the Department of Rural and Community Development are in discussions with the Department of Agriculture in relation to the reasonable point that she has raised in relation to the proposed transfer of the local authority veterinary service to the Department of Agriculture and the impact that this will have. Government continues to support the ongoing discussions that will take place at the Dog Control Stakeholder Group established in March. The group was established to consider and make recommendations to strengthen policy in relation to all dog control issues. Independently chaired by retired Deputy Garda Commissioner John Toomey, it's comprised of members with a broad range of expertise, including local authority representation. This group has been tasked with considering the policy and legislative matters under the remit of the Minister's Department, specifically the Dog Control Acts and the Dog Breeding Establishment Acts. However, the issues raised are wide-ranging and complex and require in-depth analysis and consultation to ensure amendments are not just robust, fit for purpose and implementable, but that they also deliver the best outcomes for communities. And I'm a dog lover, for dogs themselves, I agree with that. The Department of Rural and Community Development will continue to work with the relevant stakeholders to balance everybody's rights, the animals' rights, humans' rights, all of this, throughout 2024 and into 2025 to improve the dog control environment in Ireland. But the bottom line is that the government has a responsibility to protect the people, and these particular dogs have been shown to be seriously dangerous and have led to deaths in a number of instances.
Thank you, Minister.